CEO Sentiment Study, our roundtable for today. I'm Lindy Antonelli. I'll be your moderator and host for today for the panel. I am a partner at Armanino. We're an 18th largest consultancy and accounting firm. I also am the chair of the Controllers Council, and I am a former CEO myself, so I'll be able to chime in today. So thanks for having me. Next slide. So you'll see our agenda. We're going to do some housekeeping items and then panelist introductions. Then we're going to dig deep into the survey. Super excited to present this today. And then we're going to open this up for Q&A and discussions. So when we get to that point, I'll remind you, but there is a question and answer on your control panel for GoToWebinar. So you can type in any questions that you have there at any time. There's also a chat if you need to reach me or our other panelists directly. Next slide. I'm pleased to introduce to you our panelists. First, Neil. Neil Brown is the CEO of the Chief Executives Council. He's a career marketer, CMO, and CEO, and serial entrepreneur. Neil is an author of 2 books on marketing and earned an MBA from Northern Illinois University. And welcome, Jim. Jim Trelevin is CEO of VIA Strategy Group, a professor of data analytics at the University of Illinois Chicago, and board director. Jim is an author and frequent speaker. He earned a PhD in Management Information Decision Sciences from Case Western and an MBA from the University of Minnesota. Welcome to both of our esteemed panelists today.
Thank you, Lindy.
Next slide. So this is our abstract. So this important research seeks to understand how current businesses and economic environments are shaping C-suite planning, strategy, priorities, and outlooks, and what presidents and CEOs are doing differently to manage in 2024 and beyond. The 2024 study identifies a CEO Financial Performance Index, or FPI, and also a Spending Budget Index, SBI, that will serve as benchmarks now and in our future studies. This national study was conducted from November 2023 to January 2024, with more than 150 respondents participating across North America. And now to our key takeaways. Greatest concerns and what keeps our CEOs up at night. This includes talent, followed by recession, financial performance, inflation, interest rates, geopolitical risk, and supply chain. And here we get into our CEO Financial Performance Index, or the FPI, of 155%, with 61% predicting increases and only 6% predicting decreases. That's pretty good. I'm going to ask our panelists later on to dissect this more for you. Financial metrics increasing for revenue by 61%, profits by 46%, gross margin by 45%, and cost increases for SG&A by 48% and headcount by 46%. Spending outlook increases for 25% and decreases for 20% for a bullish spending budget index of 105%. And regarding work environments, a majority, 56%, plan a hybrid combination of on-site and remote, followed by a significant 29% completely on-site and only 11% completely remote. So now, what keeps you up at night? I'm going to ask our panelists and myself, I'll turn our cameras on because we're going to go through this and we're going to start asking questions of our panelists. So there's Neil and Jim. Hi, guys.
All right. Hi, Lindy.
Thanks for joining. So this is our chart on what keeps you up at night, the greatest concerns. And the chart's #1 rating is in the dark blue, is the highest concern. And lowest weighted average to the highest. All concerns are closely ranked and clustered near the middle of the 1 to 5 scale. Talent ranked as their biggest concern. Okay, but closely followed by recession and the financial performance, with financial performance also as the largest number of highest concerns. Inflation, interest rates, geopolitical risk, and supply chain follow. Question to our panelists: what is your perspective on these concerns and rankings? Neil, I see you first. Why don't you go ahead first?
Sure. Yeah. So first, I'd separate them by external concerns and internal concerns. So
Okay.
there's only so much that you can do as an executive, as a manager, about the economy and inflation and interest rates and that kind of thing. So those are external forces that you have to be aware of, but maybe out of your control. What you can potentially have some control over is internal, and those would be things like talent and, of course, financial performance. So that would be a first take on this. How about you, Jim?
Okay, so with regard to, well, actually, let me comment on your earlier comment, Neil. When I talk about the economy, it's far from homogeneous. So, for example, the risk of recession is possible in some industries and not in others. So you need to be very aware of what the macroeconomy is potentially doing in your sector. And so the overall forecast for recession, which has changed a lot in the last 12 months or so, has some effect, but it's very important for a CEO to pay, and senior management to pay attention to how that might be affecting your sector. So, for example, we see that electric vehicles are having a downturn for a variety of reasons, so that's something that they need to be aware of. Same thing with interest rates and inflation. If you're in the financial sector, interest rates have a much bigger impact than if you are not. And inflation has a bigger impact if you're in retail. So it's important to take a look at all of these sort of macroeconomic indicators relative to your particular sector, and then try to anticipate those and manage accordingly. Talent is a really important one. And since I have lots of students who are actively looking for jobs, it's interesting that a year ago, when I took a poll, they all had jobs, mostly all grad students. So they had jobs when they were going to graduate, and that's not true this year. So there seems to be a surplus of talent in the marketplace relative to what the demand is. And, and obviously, the students I have are graduate business school students, MBAs, information systems, analytics. But talent is always a challenge for companies and something they need to pay a lot of attention to. I hope that helps.
Agreed.
Yeah, I like that, and I would second that on the recession aspect. We just had a economic outlook a couple weeks back, and indeed, just 1 week ago, they announced that GDP grew in the fourth quarter, so there's no recession. But we all know that certain sectors like manufacturing and construction, housing, are in a significant recession. So it really is specific to industry.
Totally agree on both points. Good insights, guys. Move on to the next question. Okay, thanks. So, what is your overall prediction of your organization's financial performance this year versus 2023? The answer came back as 61% better or increased financial performance, 33% same, and only 6% decrease in 2024 versus 23. So that seems to be good news. 2024 CEO Financial Performance Index, the FPI, it's equals, and it's calculated as the increase minus the decrease plus the 100 base. So that's how we get the 155%. Compared to our sister council called the Controllers Council, theirs is 139%. Okay, panel question. What do you think of these bullish sentiments and in comparison to our 2024 CFO FPI? Anyone want to take that first?
I can go first.
Okay.
I would say if the CEO index was lower than the controllers and financial executives, I would be shocked if that was ever true.
Bravo.
I would hope that the CEOs would always have a more optimistic outlook than the financial people, but and so I'm not surprised at 2024 because there was a lot of uncertainty around 2023, and that's still true. But in terms of the CEOs looking forward, I think that in addition to the sort of natural tendency to be optimistic, I think that most of the indicators, and again, that's going to vary by industry, most of the indicators are for a little bit more stability, although I can name a million things that could make things less stable. But again, I'm not surprised, and I think that's a positive thing. And you can chime in, Neil.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And what is so interesting here is that just only 5% expect lower. So that's just amazing that that CEOs are so bullish, and I do agree that they're going to be CFOs, controllers are going to be more conservative by nature. So I think it all stacks up, and I know we have some other metrics and such as well that we're going to be commenting on.
Yeah,
and I think
speaking of
it'd be interesting.
it
It would be interesting to revisit this in about in the middle of next quarter and see if it's changed.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of reason to be positive, but it is a volatile environment, so a lot of things can change.
Bet.